We have two MVP players. Well, actually three if you count Bryce Harper in Philadelphia right now. Jalen Hurts and Joel Embiid. But we have two different cultures. We have two different teams. We have two different levels of success for those MVPs. We're going to talk about these MVP players that are in Philadelphia, but also the culture that they have created. We've got lots actually on the agenda today on Trending the AM. So don't go anywhere. Sit back, relax, and enjoy Trending the AM. Starts in 30 seconds.
Holding, gets around in front. Joel Embiid,
and Philadelphia has it.
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Yes, we are back on Facebook, everybody. Hope you didn't miss us too much yesterday on Facebook, but we are back on the Facebook page today. Hope everyone's having a great Tuesday morning. Got lots to talk about today here. Make sure you do me a favor, hit the like button, the subscribe button, the follow button, the share button on all those social media platforms, but make sure you do me that favor and hit the like, comment, and the subscribe button on the YouTube page. The YouTube page, Road to 700, continues right now. We're working on it. We're at 687. We're getting closer and closer to 700. Feels like we gain 2, then we lose 3, then we gain 3, then we lose 1 more. Guys, let's spread this word. Let's get this YouTube page up to 1,000. As I said yesterday morning on my Twitter page after the show, I'll put this morning show up against anybody's morning show. Radio, on the dial, on YouTube, anywhere. I'll put this up against any podcast anywhere if you watch it on replay. Let's help spread the word. There's channels out there with 40, 50,000 subscribers. I'll match that. I'll put this up against any of their work. We just need to get the subscriber count up. So make sure you share that out. So I wasn't sure where I was going to go with today's show. I keep thinking about, like, today I want to get some Sixers talk in, and we are going to get to the Sixers later on in this show. But overall, also thinking about MVPs and how Jalen Hurts is the prohibitive favorite to win MVP in the NFL. There's not much of a doubt there in most people's minds. There's a reason why he is now the betting favorite to win the award. But you got the MVP in Jalen Hurts, and you've got a 12-1 team and a team that's riding high, and the confidence level of this team. Yet on the other side of the equation, you got the Sixers and Joel Embiid, who he's not in the. He hasn't played enough games. He's missed like 6 or 7 games, which it's crazy that that's all it takes. He would be the leading the league in scoring. He'd be top 10 in rebounding and assists. He's averaging all-time high there. He's having an MVP season. But yet the Sixers are, 13-11, 14-12, whatever it may be. And I have zero confidence in them. And it's not Joel Embiid's fault. It's not. But there's something wrong with the culture and the connection to that Sixers team. So let's get to the Eagles first, and let's talk about this Eagles first. So I wasn't sure where I was going to go, like I said, with today's conversation. And then, there's a lot of different directions I could have taken with the show. And I was reading through all my tweets from yesterday and things I wanted to talk about. I tweeted out yesterday, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Deshaun Watson, just some of the names that people wanted over the last 2 years to start at quarterback over Jalen Hurts. Hell, people wanted Carson Wentz over Jalen Hurts. But that lack of, faith that people had in Jalen Hurts, probably one of the many reasons, one of those chips on his shoulders. I thought about bringing up, Mr. Chris Sims' 2021 quarterback ranking list. I mean, where's Jalen Hurts on this list? He's not there. I thought about bringing this up and discussing how insulting this was, looking back, how Chris Sims thinks he can evaluate quarterback talent. I think Kellen Mond, Tyreek Taylor, Drew Lock, even 2 years ago, were better than Jalen Hurts. Embarrassing, obviously. I thought about that. I thought about that direction and taking it. But then I started watching last night's Monday Night Football game. And I was about 5-10 minutes late about turning the game on. But in that first 5-10 minutes, something drastic happened. And that's Kyler Murray went down with a non-contact injury on a non-natural surface. You got to throw that in there. That turf they have there. Excuse me. So it got me thinking. First and foremost, I hope Kyler Murray's okay. I know I've been harsh on him and the Cardinals. I'm not a fan of Cliff Kingsbury and what he's doing. And actually, that's part of this conversation this morning. It's, hopefully Kyler Murray's okay. Hopefully it's not. I mean, it's probably a torn ACL. All reports are pointing towards that. We'll know more today. And on a side note, yeah, the few teams and cities that have non-natural grass surfaces in their fields, dude, it's about time. It's 2022. Every single city should have natural grass. The amount of injuries that happen, especially non-contact injuries, on these fake playing surfaces, it's unnecessary. It really is. And the league's got to do something, step in, and make sure these cities upgrade their playing surfaces, not just in football and baseball. Everybody. I mean, it's an epidemic. It's a problem, and these non-contact injuries, they change people's careers. Kyler Murray's career, it could change now. He's got that mobility kind of quarterback, reputation. He might not be able to run them as much, going forward. So we'll see how that plays out. But it got me thinking. What if, God forbid, knock on wood, okay? Knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But just, God forbid, something happened and Jalen Hurts goes down. Now, we've already gone through this once in Philadelphia with Carson Wentz having an MVP season, him getting hurt, and Mr. Nick Foles, the legend, jolly old Saint Nick, came in, saved the season, took us to a Super Bowl, our first ever. Are the Eagles equipped and prepared if something happened to Jalen Hurts? And I'm thinking about this because of also with the Sixers, something happens to Joel Embiid. Are they equipped? And no, they are not equipped. Makes him almost a more valuable MVP for the Sixers because you take Joel Embiid off that team, this team would crumble. I mean, they're barely holding on by a thread with him playing at MVP level. Without him, they'd be shot. Does it affect your opinion of Jalen Hurts' MVP importance, MVP quality, if you could say that if we could survive if Jalen Hurts would go down? And it got me thinking, what is important in a team? What is important in a franchise if their star player goes down to not miss a beat? Well, to not miss a beat, no matter what player goes down ever. I mean, we missed a beat even when Carson Wentz went down and Nick Foles came in. I mean, especially at first. Honestly, if you really think about it, Nick Foles had 2 good games. They just happened to be the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. Outside of that, I mean, what was it? Like, was it Dallas? We lost 6-0 or something like that. The Raiders game, I believe it was. I mean, he didn't look like he was leading us to a Super Bowl there. But we had a great team around him. And on top of a great team, more importantly, we had a great culture. So you look at the Cardinals losing Kyler Murray last night. Their season's already basically done. They're 4-9. I don't know if that officially eliminates them from playoff contention. Someone could tell me if it did. But their season's pretty much over. But if you flip the script, if they were 8-5, 9-4, even 7-6, would the Cardinals be able to rebound with Colt McCoy and make a run in the playoffs? And the answer to me is no, because the culture there. There's already been a not a losing culture, a bad culture. Cliff Kingsbury, terrible coach in my opinion. You've got a quarterback who's your leader in Kyler Murray, who's a me-type person, who's instilled that kind of personality into that locker room, that culture into that locker room. Now, on the Eagles side of it, Jalen Hurts has instituted this team-first mentality. I'm sure you all saw the video. I shared it. A lot of people shared it. After they're blowing out the Giants on Sunday. You got, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I think Devontae Smith was in the picture. They're laughing. They're goofing. They're having a good time. And rightfully so. They're blowing out the Giants, their division rival. But Jalen Hurts is sitting there, stoic, focused, concentrating. What's next? And that culture from your leader, from your MVP, that attitude, that personality sets the tone in the locker room. And I think that would help. That if something happened, obviously it helps to have a good backup quarterback. Nick Foles was great in 2017. Let's be honest, Nick Foles was not a great quarterback. Nick Foles was a great backup quarterback, probably the best of all time. But we've got a really good backup quarterback in Gardner Minshew, who has won games as a starter. So I keep thinking, like, if something happened, that next man up mentality. You look at the Eagles have had a lot of injuries. Let's be honest. The Eagles have been injury ridden this year. Jordan Davis, Dallas Goedert, Avonte Maddox. Now Aaron Sipos and, Reed Blankenship, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. We actually had quite the laundry list of injuries this year. But the culture in the locker room has kept that next man up mentality. Now, I'm not trying to say that the Eagles would go 12-1 without Jalen Hurts and Gardner Minshew in his place. That would totally devalue the importance of Jalen Hurts and his MVP season. But would the culture and would the rest of the team be able to maintain what he has instituted? Hell, Kyler Murray probably won't be with the team the rest of the year. That's the kind of personality he probably has. That's the culture in that, that disconnect between coach and quarterback in Arizona. Jalen Hurts, if something happened to him, I'd expect him in that locker room and in those practice meetings. And look, we had Brian Cameron on Friday here, and he brought up about how Jalen Hurts sits in on the coaches' meetings in the background just to hear what they're talking about. I would have no doubt in my mind that Jalen Hurts would still be doing that. He'd be still sitting in the quarterback meetings, helping get Gardner Minshew ready, helping get whoever would be the backup quarterback, ready. Like, that is something that is just as important. And that's a culture that has been developed here in Philadelphia. We had a similar thing in 2017. Let's think about it. Carson Wentz was having an MVP season when he went down. Literally, I don't know if he was the prohibitive favorite like Jalen Hurts is right now, but it was him. It was 1-2, him, Tom Brady at that point. He goes down. That culture, I mean, maybe the Carson Wentz portion of the culture wasn't there, but the Doug Peterson culture was. And I think that also goes to say how important it is to have a great coach and leader. You look at it in Baltimore. Lamar Jackson's now missed a game. He got hurt 2 weeks ago. Missed last week. They barely won, but they still won. He's going to miss another week. They got Brent Huntley or whatever his name is just sliding right in there. Now, they're not playing as well, but they were able to maintain because Harbaugh's got a great culture established there in Baltimore. San Francisco, a huge example. You got a great defense. You got a coach that understands quarterbacks and a great culture that has been from the top down from John Lynch. We talk about how great Howie Roseman is as a GM. John Lynch is a great GM there in San Francisco. Constantly got that team rebuilt and refocused. They never miss a beat. They haven't won a Super Bowl or made a Super Bowl recently. What was it? The Colin Kaepernick year was the last year they made it. I forget what year that was. But if you think about it, they lost Trey Lance, who they had pegged as their starting quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, doesn't miss a beat. Jimmy Garoppolo goes down. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. How many times I don't know about you guys, but if you watch that game on Sunday night, you're not sick and tired of hearing Mr. Irrelevant and all those comments. Just let the guy just talk about his quarterback play. Let us play on the field. Do it. So you go down to your third quarterback, a rookie that was the last player taken in the draft. They don't miss a beat. Why is that? Because they have a great culture. And their quarterbacks, maybe not at MVP level, but Jimmy Garoppolo had helped Kyle Shanahan create a great culture in that locker room. Didn't miss a beat. One guy, next man up mentality. Everybody wants to pick up for Jimmy Garoppolo. If something happened to Jalen Hurts, Jason Peters, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Miles Sanders, A.J. Brown, that whole offense would rally around Gardner Minshew because of the culture that has been instituted. I firmly believe, like right now, we're 12-1. My bold random prediction of 15-2 might actually happen. That there's a real chance. We're 4 games left this season. We got the Bears this week. That should be a win. I mean, we've got a pretty good chance of going 15-2. I joked about that before week 1, but man, that's crazy. I have to go back and find that footage and maybe share that back out. But what would we go 15-2? Would we go 3-1 the last 4 weeks if we lost Jalen Hurts? Maybe, maybe not. But we might go 2-2. We're still going to win the division. We're still going to have a bye week. And then come playoff time, I would have confidence in this team rallying around Gardner Minshew in that moment. So does that devalue Jalen Hurts as the MVP? Does the culture do that? I don't think it does. He's still the prohibitive MVP. Hell, I put out a tweet yesterday. I don't know if anybody agrees with this or not. But Jalen Hurts is not just the MVP, in my opinion, this year. Being the MVP doesn't mean you're the best quarterback in the league. It just means you're having the best season this year. In my mind, Jalen Hurts is, you take the MVP out of the equation, a top 5 quarterback in the NFL now. Like he's gone from not making Chris Sims's top 40 list. And I'll put it back up. This was from the start of the 2021 season. Not making this list. To now, I guarantee if Chris Sims does not put him in the top 5 next year, there's something seriously wrong with Chris Sims. He is literally a top 5. He's right there with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow as one of the best quarterbacks in football. He's the complete package. And I said it yesterday with Dylan. We talked about like what would it take to consider locking Jalen Hurts up long term as the quarterback of this team. He was at A. He was I said before the season, he was 17th, 18th best quarterback, maybe the 15th best quarterback in football. He was at A. What did he have to get to? He had to get to the ultimate goal is E. If he gets to B or C, is that enough to give him another year? D? He's progressed literally to the peak in one offseason. And knowing Jalen Hurts, he's not going to be happy being one of the top 5 best quarterbacks in football. Hell, I had somebody tell me the other day, if he wins the Super Bowl this year and the MVP, yeah, we'll celebrate it. He won't be content. He'll want a second one. And there's no doubt in my mind that that's what he is. He is literally that kind of a person. He's a top 5 guy in the NFL now. But there's this conversation of could the Eagles survive if they lost him? It's not to devalue him as a quarterback or his MVP season. It's just to kind of amplify the culture and the system and the players that Howie Roseman has brought in too. Because let's think about it. If you don't bring in 2017, if you don't have Alshon Jeffrey here, if you don't have Zach Ertz and Brent Selke, if you don't have that, still had Jason Kelsey and Jason Peters at that point playing, and Lane Johnson, still had all those greats there on the line. If you don't have a certain level of talent around these quarterbacks, you can't do it. But the culture does play, because you look at Baltimore. I know Pittsburgh wasn't the greatest opponent this past week to really compare it to. But you lose Lamar Jackson. He's 99% of your offense. I mean, they don't have a wide receiver. Mark Andrews, they have a great tight end. He's been banged up this year. They still have a good defense. But you're going up against Pittsburgh, a team that's still trying to find their footing. And yes, Kenny Pickett got hurt. You had to go back to Mitchell Trubisky, who threw more interceptions. I get all that. But you lose Lamar Jackson, and you go to Hudley, their backup. It should have been a complete disaster. But it wasn't. Because the culture that was instilled by the coaching staff, that it's the next man up mentality. And I really, truly believe that Nick Sirianni has instituted that here. And I really do believe that the culture that's in that locker room, if I was an Arizona fan right now, I'd be devastated. I'd be like, not only is this, you might as well fire Cliff Kingsbury now, start blowing this team up, because Kyler Murray's ACL tear now. You look at OBJ. Obviously, Odell Beckham is not coming back anywhere this year. Dallas went out and got T.Y. Hilton. Just goes to show that there's no chance that OBJ's signing anywhere are going to be ready this year. ACL tear at this point of the season. I mean, you look back when Carson Wentz tore his ACL. It was about this time of the year. He came back for the start of the next season, but he wasn't the same. You got to think that Kyler Murray maybe is back by the start of next season, maybe not, but he won't be the same at the start of next season. There's a lot that has to be determined in Arizona, whether you keep Cliff King. How Cliff Kingsbury still has a job. I said it before this season. I said it middle of the season. He should have been fired. But there is talent. You got James Conner. You've got DeAndre Hopkins. You've got Hollywood Brown. You've got weapons. You got Zach Ertz there. Eagles legend there. I feel bad for Zach Ertz now. Leaves Philly, goes to Arizona, and he's got a worse problems there. We could use Zach Ertz on this team. The culture. It matters. It really does. You lose a quarterback, an elite quarterback, and Kyler Murray's having not his greatest season, but he is an elite. He's a top 10 quarterback in this league. He's somebody you would want to build your franchise around. Now, Jalen Hurts, I did say this yesterday on Twitter as well. Jalen Hurts has surpassed, in my opinion, Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray in the hierarchy of quarterbacks, which is crazy because before the season started, no way I would have said that. I would have said the potential's there, but there's no way that they would be behind Jalen Hurts. But at this point now, if I'm building a franchise, I'm picking Jalen Hurts for sure ahead of Lamar Jackson and ahead of Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, let me think about, quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, right now you got Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. They're your top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. Jalen Hurts to me is probably 4. I mean, some will say Justin Herbert, and that's fine. I have to see Justin Herbert win a big game or have a bigger moment. He just doesn't impress me on that upper echelon level just yet. But he's close. Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, they're your top 6, 7 quarterbacks in the NFL that you'd be building a franchise around. It's not Aaron Rodgers anymore. It's definitely not Russell Wilson anymore. It's probably not Tom Brady anymore. Yeah, I mean, that's where the quarterback play is in the NFL right now. But Jalen Hurts has surpassed those guys. And Kyler Murray got his big bag of money. Lamar Jackson bet on himself. Let me tell you something. I think he turned down like a $250 million contract. Let me tell you something. He's not going to get much more than that, if that much. Jalen Hurts is going to get way more than that. So it's really interesting to think about how a team could survive if they lose their MVP. And it's not to take – I really want to make sure I'm putting this out there, that it's not to take away anything from the MVP play. It's not trying to say that he's not as valuable because if you take him away, they still win. Look, if you take Jalen Hurts off this team, everything stays the same. Say he gets hurt week 1. We're still probably a winning football team. Are we 12-1? Absolutely not. But we'd be close. We'd be near the top. We'd probably be right there in the conversation in the division. I mean, it's not like our division is lighting the world on fire. I mean, Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, for as good as they are, they're just as bad. That, again, culture. It matters. Do you hear what comes out of the media and the locker room, the fans in Dallas? I mean, hell, there was a point this year where they were talking about Cooper Rush taking over as the starting quarterback in Dallas. That's the problem. Do you think Mike McCarthy has a winning culture in that locker room? No. I mean, Brian Daboll's trying to develop it in New York. And I think if they get a quarterback, obviously Daniel Jones is not the guy. It's crazy because they're 7-5. They're on the cusp of a playoff appearance, but yet they probably have to move on from their quarterback in the offseason. They probably have to go out and draft a guy or trade for somebody in New York. Do we think? I don't know what that even means. Or are you just making fun of me because I said, do we think a lot there? Yeah, I think a lot. Maybe sometimes too much. We got to take a quick pause in the action here. Today's show is brought to you by Gents Barber Lounge. Check out one of their 2 great locations, Fishtown and Old City, and book your appointment today. They own the craft and it shows, rated the #1 barbershop on Yelp in the Philadelphia area. Able to handle any style cut, adult or kid. Check out some of their great work right here. And we're back here trending in the AM right here on DSM Media Live across all social media platforms. Make sure you like, share, retweet, and follow on all of them. This is what we're saying, Jason. Do we think Hurts beats out Goff for MVP? Hey, hold on. Weren't you the one that texted me on Saturday and said the Lions are going to lose to the Vikings? What a Lions fan, having so much confidence in your team. Look, Jared Goff, I'll say this. He ain't no MVP. But I will still stand by it that he got a raw deal in LA. I mean, Matthew Stafford, is a great quarterback, and they went all in on their Super Bowl. But Jared Goff led the Rams to a Super Bowl. Yeah, they lost their Super Bowl that he played in, and they just moved on from him pretty damn quickly. He's still fairly young. Was he about 30 years old now? The guy could throw. We're talking about culture here on this show and being able to overcome the loss. I mean, what are the Lions now? 5-7, 6-7, something like that. They're still in the playoff hunt. If you lose Jared Goff and got to go to the rookie, I think the rookie is still is considered your backup quarterback. Would they be able to keep up this high-powered offense? Their defense needs some work. Would they be able to keep it up? Because Dan Campbell is trying to build he's trying to build that locker room and that culture there. Now, I don't think the Lions are at that point yet where they could overcome the loss of Jared Goff, but they're working towards that. And if you build the right culture, you look at what San Francisco's doing. They're going from Trey Lance to Jimmy Garoppolo to Brock Purdy. Hell, you could go get Colin Kaepernick off the streets, and the culture that's built there with a good team around them will keep them in contention always. So the Lions could do much worse than Jared Goff at quarterback. Continue to build that team. They've already gotten some Amon St. Brown, Jamison Williams. They got rid of TJ Hawkinson, which I think is insane, and they're still winning. You got two great running backs there that they don't use either of them well enough. Improve that defense, and you could win some games. You think about it. I talk all the time on this show, not just about culture, but timing. The timing is coming up for the Lions in the NFC North. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. There's rumors that Jordan Love wants traded out of there, because Aaron Rodgers is still sticking around, but the Packers stink, and they're not going to be good for a little while, I think, as long as Aaron Rodgers is there. Minnesota's Minnesota. They stink. The Bears, Justin Fields. I would take Jared Goff over Justin Fields right now as my quarterback. I really would. And that would kind of say you build that locker room up a little bit more, get some more talent on that defense. Lions could win the division next year. They could. And Dan Campbell, he's working on that culture. They're giving him time. I don't hear rumors that Dan Campbell's got to be fired right now because the Detroit's giving him time to build that culture and that locker room, just like Brian Daboll's doing with the New York Giants. Now, not everybody could do it like Nick Sirianni did in the course of, a season and a half and change everything in the culture, like literally instantly, but it's kind of crazy. Anyway, sorry. So back to this MVP. I'm not trying to devalue what Jalen Hurts is doing in MVP, but the great comparison on the flip side, and we look at the Sixers, because we do got to spend some time here today talking Sixers basketball. Joel Embiid, he's playing again. It's like a broken record. He's again a candidate for MVP. He's only played in 18 games of the Sixers 26. He's missed, 7 games, 8 games this year. And so he doesn't qualify for the scoring title at this point. If he doesn't get hurt, he'll get back in the qualifications. If he was qualified right now, he'd be leading the league and scoring 33.4 points a game. Let me repeat that. He is averaging 33. Last year, he was the first center since Shaquille O'Neal to average 30. And he's averaging even more this year. Hell, on Sunday against the Charlotte Hornets, 34 minutes, he scored 53 points. But he also was able to throw in 12 rebounds, 3 assists, a blocked shot. Joel Embiid is playing as the MVP of the league. But yet, if you look at the numbers, the odds, he's not even in the top 5 right now, which is insane. But you take Joel Embiid off the Sixers team, and what are they? 10 times more frustrating than they already are. So it almost amplifies how big of a deal Joel Embiid is to the Sixers. But it also amplifies that thing that the culture on the Sixers is wrong. The culture is broken. What do the Sixers have to do? I mean, we look at the Eagles and Jalen Hurts and what he is doing. And our confidence in this team is sky high. You look at the Sixers. So the Eagles' expectations were maybe win the division, hopefully make the playoffs, maybe win a playoff game. Now the expectations are Super Bowl title. I put that tweet out there yesterday, and a lot of people responded with yeses and nos. Because the expectations of the Eagles have changed, is it make the Super Bowl or bust now, or is it a disappointment this season? To me, they better make the Super Bowl at this point, or I'll be disappointed. The Sixers came in with those title expectations. We sat on this very show and made predictions that this team had to get to the Eastern Conference Finals at least, but the NBA title, round was important. But now the expectations have changed in the opposite direction for the Sixers. I don't even know what the expectations are for this team. I mean, James Harden missed a month. Tyrese Maxey doesn't seem like he's going to be back yet. Reports that I read this morning say hopefully he's back by Christmas, a game or two before Christmas. So he's still going to miss another week or so. The expectations have changed on this team drastically. And that's because of the culture and this coaching staff and this team. This mismatched team of random former Houston Rockets and a coach that doesn't inspire. It's actually crazy. The games where Joel, James Harden, and Maxey were out were some of our best played games. It's crazy to think that. But this team, the expectations have changed on them. And it's crazy that they've changed because Joel Embiid is playing such a high level right now. Like, legitly. Let me just repeat off. Let me pull up his scoring sheet here. His last game, he scored 53, 38, 39, 35. He did have the 119 clunker against Cleveland, but they were blown out. They didn't play him much there. 30, 32, 32, 59, 42, 26, 33. He's only had 2 games under 30 points since the start of November. It's insane. He's averaging 41 points in his 4 games this month. He averaged 34 points plus in his games last month. It's insane. And he's doing other things too. He's passing the ball. He's rebounding still. I mean, we've got some issues on the offensive rebounding boards. That's no denying that there. But he's playing so elite. Yet let me pull this back up here again. Even though he's averaging all those points, we've won our last 2, but then we lost 3 games before that. So it's win 2, it's lose 3. It's win 3, it's lose 2. There's no consistency. And the problem is that losing's okay. Joel Embiid is putting up the numbers. It's almost like he's going through the motions. He wants to be the MVP. Jalen Hurts, you hear this Eagles team, they rally behind Jalen Hurts, and Miles Sanders was asked about his contract, and Brandon Graham was asked about his sack total. And they all answer the same thing. Super Bowl. That's all that matters. Joel Embiid, to me, almost feels like he's sleepwalking through the season, which is crazy to say because he's playing at MVP level, obviously. Averaging an insane amount of points. Individually, statistically speaking, he's having an amazing season. But he's not inspiring the rest of his teammates. He still has that sulky attitude to me. He doesn't have that. Last year, I tweeted out and I talked about it, that he had this laser focus in his eyes, like he was going to do whatever it takes to take this team to the top. This year, I don't see that. I just see him wanting to get his. And it's because there's this acceptable losing culture in Philadelphia with the Sixers. And whereas taking Jalen Hurts off the team, them still having success, doesn't devalue Jalen Hurts' MVP candidacy, I think it does devalue Joel Embiid's candidacy that he's not helping elevate other players. He's not helping change the winning culture or losing culture in this team. Like, I want Joel Embiid literally to hold these guys accountable. Look, PJ Tucker is who he is. He's a veteran, old guy, but he was brought here to help lead this team defensively and culture-wise, bring an edge to this team. He's not bringing any edge to this team. Joel Embiid, call him out, Joel. If James Harden, James Harden's having a really good season. And on a side note, Doc Rivers says, I'm going to, limit his minutes at all. and all after he came back from his injury. He's playing 38 freaking minutes a game still. He's still leading the team in minutes the last 3 games that he's been back. I don't know what you're talking about controlling this guy's minutes. I mean, 38 minutes a game. I guess that's controlling your minutes. That's easing him back in. I don't know. I mean, James Harden came out this season and looked really good early this season, his first few games, but he looks more and more a lot like last year, which isn't bad because James Harden still does things very effectively. His role has to change as a player now at 34, and I think he understands that. And I just think they have to find a better way to integrate that. But Joel Embiid, I mean, his MVP candidacy this year is less. It's a less of a the book. The chapters of it aren't complete, but it's not as strong because the team. He's just putting up stats. I mean, when you put up 50 points a game, 40 points a game, and you only win half those games. Some of that's on your team, but some of that's on you. An MVP elevates his teammates. An MVP motivates his teammates. And Joel Embiid's not doing that. It's his personality. And look, I'm not criticizing Joel necessarily. What I'm trying to do is criticize Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey to an extent too. Daryl Morey built this team. So this team, the problems are just as much Daryl Morey's fault as Doc Rivers. Daryl Morey enables Doc Rivers. If Daryl Morey had any sense, I mean, we see it. How he doesn't see it that it's time for this change to happen, I don't know. But Joel Embiid should be in the forefront of the conversation for MVP again, but he's not. And I actually don't disagree at this point. And it's simple. To me, it really is simple. What you do for the rest of your team behind the scenes, just as much as on the court, matters. And Jalen Hurts does. He's got that special. Not only is he a special player, he's a special leader. Joel Embiid just isn't that guy. And I think he can be. I think he has been. But I honestly, at this point, if you had an anonymous, off-the-record question of Joel Embiid and said, Joel, would things change if we fired Doc Rivers right now? I guarantee you he would say, get him out of here right now. Now, he would never publicly say that. He would never publicly admit that. And like I said before, I'm pretty sure he signed off on bringing Doc Rivers back, him and James Harden. But, I mean, I still can't get over the Doc Rivers from a few weeks ago saying it was a scheduled loss comment. And I really think that, to me, summed up the season at that point, but also set the tone for the rest of it. I was having trouble connecting to this team. And I'm having even more trouble doing it now because of that statement still. And I know it's been like a week and a half, 2 weeks since that statement was made. So how do you fix it? Look, we've said it before. This team is talented enough that they're never going to go on the type of losing streak that's necessary to fire Doc Rivers. They're just not. They're not going to lose 10 games in a row. There's just no way Joel Embiid and James Harden, a team like that's going to let that happen. They're 2-0 on this homestand. They got 5 more games at home. They're probably going to win 2 or 3 more games at home on this homestand and have a 5-2, homestand. And everything's going to be rosy in the front office and the locker room because, hey, they're a couple games above 500. But what's going to happen is this team is going to continue to win 2 or 3 games, then lose 2 games, then win 2 or 3 games, then lose 2 or 3 games. And this is just going to be this repetitive cycle all season long. And we can sit here and talk about trades. I heard people say, go get Cam Reddish yesterday because the Knicks are looking to move him. I saw some Facebook posts, go trade all this stuff to go get DeMar DeRozan. You could go out and get stars. You can go get stars if you want. You could trade Tobias Harris. You could trade Matisse Thybulle. You could do all that. Is it really going to make that much? The guys you're going to bring in here, are they really going to make that much of a difference? No, they're not. Because the culture is the problem here. That has to be changed first. And then you can adjust the players. You're always going to hear the people talking about, should Tyrese Maxey come off the bench? Should P.J. Tucker go to the bench? Which I would put P.J. Tucker on the bench. I would start Matisse Thybulle. That would be one thing I would do as an initial thing. Should D'Anthony Melton, who who's becoming like freaking Klay Thompson out there, knocking down threes. It's crazy. It's actually crazy that these guys they come to Philly, they play with Joel Embiid, and all of a sudden they're a better 3-point shooter. They get all these open looks. It's crazy. Do you start him over Tyrese Maxey, or do you do the? I saw somebody on a Facebook page post go ahead and start Harden, Maxey, and Melton. Have a 3-guard lineup. Have them 3, Harris and Embiid as your starting lineup. These things are all they're just ideas floating around out there, and everybody's got their idea on what fixes it. But none of it's going to fix it to the point that's going to all of a sudden turn this into a title contending team. You need to figure out with the coach, get a new coach in here if they can figure out how to better maximize your best way of turning the expectations of the season around are to figure out a way to get Joel Embiid and James Harden to play well together. How to maximize that duo. That window every day shrinks a little bit more. It just keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. You got to figure that out. Problem is, Doc Rivers, I don't think knows how to figure it out. I think he's just going to keep rolling. Look, against Charlotte, we won. We won by like almost 20 points in that game. But it was a very close first half. And I think there were points where the Charlotte actually had the lead early in that game, which should never be the case. But there was a point in that game. And I know Tyrese Maxey's still out, but you still have 3 max player stars on this team, even with Maxey out. There was a moment in that game where he rode with 5 bench guys on the floor. He had all of Harden, Maxey, or Harden, Embiid, Harris, and Tucker, and Melton, all riding the bench. And you think that that's going to be an effective lineup? I think it was at the end of the first quarter, beginning of the second quarter. I believe it was. I'm pulling up the box score from the game to see who played. So, yeah, so he ran with a lineup of George Niang, Montrezl Harrell, Matisse Thybulle, Shake Milton, and Furkan Korkmaz for about 4 minutes of game action, 5 minutes of game action. It was either end of the first, beginning of the second, or end of the third, beginning of the fourth. It was one or the other. I forget. And actually, they played half decently together. It's not like they played poorly together, but it was against Charlotte. I mean, what does Doc Rivers see that thinks that a backcourt is Shake Milton and Furkan Korkmaz with Matisse, Harrell, and Niang is smart? When you have those other 3 stars, it just makes no sense. And if you think these NBA players don't see that, and if you think these NBA players don't get frustrated with that, hell, those 5 bench guys all put on the court at the same time are probably frustrated. That's putting undue pressure. You know, we always joke about the saying, you know, put your players in the best position to succeed. It's like the most cliche coach phrase out there. You're putting all 5 of your bench guys in a position to fail. And I just don't know what Doc Rivers is thinking from day to day, from game to game, from quarter to quarter. That makes him it's literally just randomly throwing things. And it's not like this is new. Since day one, we've been harping on this philosophy of him where he has 4 bench guys and a star or all 5 bench guys. You know, him not knowing how to draw up a out of bounds play to end a quarter or end a game. It's not new. This is just a repetitive broken record cycle with Doc Rivers. And Daryl Morey and the Sixers organization continue to just let this go because they're stubborn, and they keep. Doc Rivers won an NBA title with Boston 15 years ago, so he was rated one of the top 15, whatever it was, coaches of all time by some group. So they're just going to let it go, and until that changes, this is not going to change. Look, I was watching that Sixers game on Sunday night, and I was falling asleep. I shouldn't fall asleep during a Sixers game. And it's not because the game was boring. It was because I just don't connect with this team. They have a loser culture, a loser mentality. And honestly, no matter what they do, unless it starts with that top, without firing, this season's going to be a complete waste. Which again, here goes that window, shrinking. Whoa, as I knock my microphone over. Shrinking more, shrinking more, shrinking more. And if we go this season at this way for the whole season, And then we move on from Doc. And that means a new coach next year has to try to figure out the James Harden, Joel Embiid. Look, we don't know if James Harden and Joel Embiid can coexist. We need to figure that out now. We're not winning a title this year, guys. We're not making the Eastern Conference Finals at this point. I mean, we are so far below Boston and the Bucks. Hell, we're behind the Cavaliers at this point. The rest of the teams, whatever. That this season, it's about getting that MVP award to Joel. Sure, if you want to make it about individuals, but it's about figuring out the big picture for this team going forward. And please, if I ever see on Twitter a breaking news thing that Tyrese Maxey got traded, I'm just going to be done with this team, plain and simple. I really will be. I mean, he is the future of this franchise and organization. And if Daryl Morey does that, because that is the bold move that could be made, that would fix, that he would think would fix this team. Hey, out of control. So tonight they go against the Sacramento Kings, who surprisingly are 14-11 this year. I'm trying to find where are my NBA standings. So the Sixers right now are so they win 2 games and they jump back up into the 5 spot. I mean, again, outside the top 2 teams, Boston, Milwaukee, who are hands above everybody. Cleveland's obviously up there. Brooklyn's playing great basketball. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They're starting to figure it out. The Pacers are falling back down like I expect. The Hawks are falling back down. Knicks are doing okay. I mean, they've got a nice win streak going. But Sacramento, somehow, they're in the 5 seed in the Western Conference. I'm blown away by that. I mean, the Western Conference as a whole, I mean, you look at it. Memphis, I knew would be good. Phoenix, obviously good. I didn't see New Orleans taking this big of a jump this year. And obviously, the Golden State Warriors aren't playing great basketball as a whole right now. Utah falling back down from their top spot. They were up there early this season. Sacramento's playing good basketball this year. I mean, let's look at this team here. They're 14-11, like I said. They're in the top 5. De'Aaron Fox averaging close to 23 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. He's doing his thing. Adding Kevin Herter. I mean, he's shooting the ball lights out this year. Malik Monk's playing really good off their bench. Harrison Barnes, a guy that's been linked to the Sixers. Pay attention to this game because if you want the Sixers to make a trade, this is a team. I mean, I don't think they would blow it up, Sacramento, but we've been linked with Sacramento a long time. I mean, I'm still thinking. I brought it up a few weeks ago on a show, and I'm still thinking about it. If we would have traded Ben Simmons to Sacramento for Harrison Barnes and Tyler Halliburton instead of Brooklyn for James Harden, would we be a better team? I'm still not over that thought process. But if you want to trade Tobias Harris, or if you want to trade Matisse Thybulle and try to make a minor tweak to this team to make it better, Sacramento's the type of team you do that with. I mean, Harrison Barnes still, I mean, he's getting up there in age, but he still plays really good basketball. Would he be improvement, over Tobias Harris? He wouldn't provide as much offensively as Tobias can, but he's a more well-rounded player maybe, so maybe he would help. I would love Herter coming off our bench, as another sniper, as another scorer. Hell, Malik Monk even I would take. I mean, he's hot and cold, up and down with the shooting, but they're a team that you could see would pair up financially with the Sixers. So, they're playing really good basketball, but their expectations weren't where they are right now. So, even though they're playing out above their mark, I don't think their expectations have changed this season in Sacramento. I still think that they think that they're in that in between phase where they're still trying to figure out who they are, what they are, establish some things. So you might make a move. You might be able to make a move with Sacramento there. Maybe they could use a little extra help on defense. Somebody like Matisse, and I don't know. Keep an eye on that aspect of it. But they should win the Sixers tonight. But obviously, if Sacramento's 15-11 at this point, they're not the pushover that they used to be. They're just not. So it's not going to be a cakewalk tonight. They lost against the Knicks in New York, so they're on a road trip. This is their fourth straight road game. All these people talking about all the scheduled losses and being tired on the road trip for the Sixers and whatnot, and excuses. Well, the Kings have those same excuses. So they should be ripe for the picking. Tyrese Maxey is still out. That is No doubt about it. He might be back. I would say at the end of this week, we should know when he'll be back. Again, they hope to have him back before Christmas. So obviously the Sixers play the Knicks on Christmas Day. I'm not sure what their schedule is exactly before that. Let me pull it up here real quick. So they play Detroit on the 21st, the Clippers on the 23rd. He could be back maybe by Wednesday of next week against Detroit, maybe Friday of next week against LA. They're your two first chances, in my opinion, to see Tyrese Maxey back out on the court. And that would help, obviously. We'll see what kind of shape he's in and where his confidence level is at that point. But, you got Sacramento. Then you get a couple days off and you got Golden State Friday. Toronto. Golden State, Toronto, tough games. Golden State's not playing well, but they're still Golden State. You look at this. I'm looking here on the ESPN schedule here. They always put the tickets as low as, to purchase tickets. You can get tickets tonight for as low as $9. For Monday to Toronto, as low as $9. On Wednesday to Detroit, as low as $8. But Friday night against Golden State, as low as $72. It's crazy. Everybody wants to see Golden State. They all want to see the Splash Brothers. I get it. They're big ticket. It's just crazy difference in price. But anyway, can they win tonight? Yes. Should they win tonight? Yes. Will they win tonight? It depends. It depends on what this team wants to do tonight. I mean, they're 5.5-point favorites tonight, the Sixers. Obviously, Joel Embiid's going to come out. They do not. The Sacramento Kings do not have a guy that should be able to stop Joel Embiid. Is Domantas Sabonis going to stop him? He's a gritty player. He might be able to rough and tough and bang around with him a little bit. But that's basically it. I mean, Rashawn Holmes is still on this team. I mean, but he doesn't even play every game. Alex Len, he doesn't do anything. He's tried to stop Joel a few times in his career to no avail. There's nobody on this team that should stop Joel Embiid. So Joel Embiid, if he wants, should be able to put up another 40-point game tonight. And he's going to have to. James Harden's not going to put up 30, 40 points this year. He's not. Tobias Harris, is going to struggle against Harrison Barnes tonight. Somebody else is going to have to step up as well. DeAnthony Melton, I'm looking at DeAnthony Melton again to keep playing well. And maybe he steps up, first off, defensively to slow De'Aaron Fox down. De'Aaron Fox, what is De'Aaron Fox? I want to really pay close attention to him tonight. Where his game is at this point compared. I mean, he had a lot of hype coming out of college, and he's a gunner kind of scorer, but I keep feeling like he should be more than he is in the NBA. And he hasn't put all the pieces together. But Sacramento, again, we talk culture and stuff like that. They just haven't had a winning culture yet in Sacramento in his career. So I don't know. I would love to know what De'Aaron Fox would be on a championship, on a better team with a better coach and a better team around him. I would love to know what De'Aaron Fox what his peak could be. But it's going to take another Herculean performance from Joel Embiid tonight. And that's just the lack of confidence I have in the rest of this team, the rest of this coaching staff. And let me tell you something. If they come out and lose tonight, it's going to be a big loss. It's going to be a crucial loss because, again, the way the schedule ranks, plays out, you need these kind of wins tonight. And it's just, again, if they lose tonight, you win 2, then you lose some. And it's this repetitive cycle that keeps happening. But they need to win tonight. And they should win tonight. And if they win, if Joel Embiid has another game, I will come on here tomorrow morning and I will praise Joel Embiid for what he does. Let me tell you something. If the effort's not there, I'm off from work tonight. If I sit down and watch this game and I see lackadaisical effort, if I see poor coaching, I'll be live tweeting the game. If I see poor coaching again, guys, I'm going to call it out. This is just going to be a repetitive cycle all season long. I was thinking about it today. I'm like, luckily the Eagles are going to make a deep run in this playoffs because at least it gives me something to talk about outside of the Sixers on this morning show repetitively week in, week out through February. And then we'd only have February and March to talk just Sixers until the Phillies start back up and, the Eagles off season and all that kind of good stuff. Because let me tell you something, this repetitive cycle, it's going to be a depressing winter if this is just the cycle that keeps happening with the Sixers. They win 2, they lose 2. They win 3, they lose 2. They win 3, they lose 4. Repetitive cycle because Doc Rivers accepts losing. Daryl Morey accepts losing. I'm telling you, if this season plays out how I expect it to play out, the Sixers and Josh Harris better be ready to clean house in the front office. Just clean house. Because That's what's holding this team back. Anyway, we're going to wrap up Trending the AM right there here on DSM Media. Again, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, you know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. I greatly appreciate that. I'll be back tomorrow. Jason will be here with me. We'll talk Sixers. I'm sure we'll have another Eagles conversation to have tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. We didn't even get into it. Anthony Harris worked out with the Eagles yesterday. He's probably going to be brought in to fill in that role in safety. We got a new punter and Brett Kern. We'll get into all that stuff tomorrow with the Eagles and get back into that conversation. Everybody have a great Tuesday. It's cold as hell out there today. So bundle up. Have a great day. And, go Birds.
And Philadelphia has it.